In today's talk, I'm going to talk about how to correctly interpret and read a cardio risk CIMT report in order to better manage your risk of a stroke or a heart attack moving forward. Stay tuned. Quick reminder, heart attacks and strokes are the #1 killer in the world by far. More people will die from heart attacks or strokes before their time than any other chronic disease. And what's my channel all about? Track your plaque. Look at the disease itself. I'm a huge fan of CIMT scans, Carotid Intima-Media Thickness scans, because they're the only scans of the artery that have zero radiation and that check for non-calcified plaque in addition to calcified plaque and are relatively affordable. So, the company I like to use is Cardio Risk. I have no affiliation with them. They operate nationwide. You can go to cardiorisk.com, sign up at their website, go to a location, pay the $250, get your next scan, takes 10 minutes, then you'll get a report, and we need to talk about what that report confers in terms of information in order to read it correctly and understand your risk, because there is some nuance to it. So let's take a look at my last cardio risk scan report from November 2025. Here it is on the screen. You can see that at the time, patient age 58, arterial age 76. That's not very good. The arterial age is because my patient IMT, intimate media thickness, was 0.90 millimeters. That's why my arterial age was 76, because when you take a look at the chart at the bottom of the first page, you can see that the dot is me. On the left-hand side is the intimate media thickness, and I'm 0.90, and on the bottom is age. And the two lines represent the average of males and females, in other words, the thickness by age. So when you look at the chart for a 58-year-old, I should on average be at around 0.70 millimeters. However, because I'm up at 0.90 millimeters, that's why the report is flagging my artery age as being that of a 76-year-old. So obviously, when you get a report like this and the headline grabbing attention is my arteries are nearly 20 years older than I am, I'm 58 and I've got the arteries of a 76-year-old. That's what grabs the attention. That's the headline kind of news on the report. And what I'm telling everyone is, while it's not irrelevant, that is nowhere near the most relevant part of this report. So that's the first thing you got to know about these cardio risk scans is you got the headline grabbing attention. How old are your arteries compared to how old you are? And most people leave the analysis there. You've got to get past that. Like I said, it's not irrelevant, it's just nowhere near as relevant as carotid plaque burden, okay? So before we take a look at what really matters on my report, let's take a look at some research and reviews in the studies to understand why carotid plaque burden matters most. Here we can see a 2014 review from the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. And to summarize some of the things that they actually said in this report, I'm just going to quote from the report. The reviewers found that, quote, carotid plaque appears to be a more powerful predictor of cardiovascular risk compared with CIMT alone. CIMT meaning the intimate media thickness, which again is artery age. Carotid plaque burden appears to be a more powerful predictor, is what they're saying. They also say, quote, quantitative measures of plaques, such as plaque number, plaque thickness, plaque area, and three-dimensional assessment of plaque volume appear to be progressively more sensitive in predicting cardiovascular risk than mere assessment of plaque presence. What they're saying there is the detail of the plaque is very sensitive and very important compared to merely saying that you've got it. And cardio risk does get into a lot of detail. The authors also say, quote, meta-analyses suggest that CCA-IMT alone, common carotid artery intermediate thickness alone, only minimally improves predictive power beyond traditional risk factors. Whereas inclusion of the carotid bulb and internal carotid artery IMT improves prediction of both cardiac risk and stroke risk. And again, the detail of what they're saying matters is also in cardio risk's report. Finally, the authors say IMT measurement, which is intermediate thickness, which is again artery age, at the CCA, common carotid artery, carotid bulb, and internal carotid artery, that allows inclusion of plaque in the IMT measurement. In other words, it has that level of detail in the report. Or CCA IMT, internal intima-media thickness measurement, along with plaque assessment in all carotid segments, is emerging as the focus of carotid artery ultrasound imaging for cardiovascular risk prediction, end quote. So folks, what the research is saying here is that it is plaque burden, it is the nature and type of plaque that matters on these reports far more than the headline grabbing attention, which is artery age, intima-media thickness. Are we clear on that? Because unfortunately, the way that the report is laid out, you get the headline color-coded attention on your intima-media thickness, your artery age, as we've just found out. That's not the most important stuff. So let's pull up my last CIMT so we can actually see where the really important stuff is, because this is what you guys want to focus on when you read these reports. So folks, back to my report. Forget about what it says as early event risk. I don't know how they come up with the algorithm. The thing that matters is the number that is in the criteria plaque burden. This is where you've got to focus. Plaque burden. You can see in November 2025, my plaque burden was 2.7 millimeters. It shows you to the right of that what it was at the last visit, which was 3 millimeters. That is a 10% reduction in carotid plaque burden. That is very, very significant in 3 months. And that's why you're watching my videos, isn't it? You want to know what I'm doing to regress plaque. Anyway, plaque burden is what you've got to focus when you get this report. And then you need to understand where that figure comes from. So 2.7. And that is where you've almost got to get your magnifying glass out, because you need to go to the comment section now to understand where that 2.7 comes from. And it comes from taking a look at the 6 numbers here. There's 3 individual places on the right side of your neck and 3 individual places on the left side of your neck where they measure particular thickening areas. So you can see for me, right CCA, right common carotid artery, 0.9 millimeters, right bulb, 1.4 millimeters with the letter H next to it, right hand side internal carotid, 0.7 millimeters. On the left-hand side of my neck, the common carotid artery was 1.0 millimeters. The left-hand side bulb was 1.3 millimeters with the letter H. And the left-hand side internal carotid was 0.8 millimeters. So here's how cardio risk does it. Anytime they find an area, and again, this is in the fine print in the comments section, that is 1.3 millimeters or higher, that is what counts towards the plaque burden number. So you can see I've got 2 places. I've got the right-hand side bulb that was 1.4 millimeters. The left-hand side bulb was 1.3 millimeters. All other numbers were less than 1.3. So you add 1.4 to 1.3, it comes to 2.7. That's how they get to the plaque burden number. It's any of those 6 areas that are 1.3 or higher, and I had 2 areas. The next question you need to answer is, what kind of plaque is it? And cardio risk tells you that too, because they put a letter next to it. Again, in the fine print in the comments section, they explain these letters. S equals soft, H equals heterogeneous, or E equals echogenic. These are just scientific words. S equals soft means just what it says. It's soft plaque. H for heterogeneous means it's mixed plaque, and E echogenic means it's calcified plaque. So here's what you need to know about the 3 types of plaque. Soft plaque is by far the most dangerous plaque. It's lipid rich. Think of it like a zit that could burst at any given moment. If it bursts, the body rushes to the scene of the crime, forms a blood clot, thinks you're bleeding to death. Blood clot cuts off oxygen. There's your stroke, there's your heart attack. It's very dangerous, soft plaque. Mixed plaque, what cardio risks call heterogeneous, is that in between. It's semi-stable. It's still non-calcified plaque. It's not that great, but it's not as dangerous as the soft plaque. Finally, what they call echogenic is another word for calcified plaque. That is the most stable. If you're gonna have plaque in your arteries, none of us want plaque, you want it calcified. It's like concrete on the walls. So from my report, you can see that my 2 plaque areas, meaning the 2 areas that 1.3 millimeters or higher, right-hand bulb 1.4, left-hand bulb 1.3, letter H, means both areas are mixed plaque, non-calcified plaque, which doesn't thrill me because it's non-calcified, but it's not as dangerous as soft plaque. So the way I encourage people to read these reports and interpret them is, the number 1 focus is on these 6 numbers. even the areas, the numbers that are less than 1.3, that's not going to show up as plaque on a cardio risk report, okay? They just call plaque 1.3 millimeters or more. That doesn't mean you can ignore the numbers that are less than 1.3, because 1.3 is a little bit of an arbitrary number. It's kind of like cardio risk had to pick a number, a cutoff at some point to call a thickening area plaque. It's a bit like average blood glucose, HbA1c, where they say things like if you're 5.6 or lower on HbA1c, you're normal. If you're 5.7 to 6.4, you're pre-diabetes. And if you're 6.5 or higher, you're diabetic. These are somewhat arbitrary cutoff points. It's just that the medical profession has to pick a number somewhere to say, hey, you're pre-diabetic. But let's be honest, in terms of your biology, your physiology, you're not that different of a human being between 5.6 on HbA1c and 5.7, even though the medical professional will tag you normal or pre-diabetic. And that's how I encourage you to think about these 6 numbers on a cardio risk scan report. If all 6 numbers in the comment section are 1.2 millimeters, you're going to see a report that says no plaque. If the next time you get that cardio risk scan done, all 6 numbers say 1.3 millimeters, just ticked up a little bit, you're going to see a massive amount of plaque. You'll go from no plaque to a massive amount of plaque, which is why this is what I encourage folks to do. Track these 6 numbers, maybe even put them in a spreadsheet. Track the ones that are 1.3 millimeters or higher, clearly that's defined as plaque, but also track the ones that are less than 1.3 millimeters. So for example, if you see one of these 6 numbers and it's 1.0, and 6 to 12 months later when you repeat the scan, now it's 1.2, it's still going to say not plaque. But you went up 20%. You went up the wrong direction. And this is how you can get on top of your own risk profile. When you see the train moving in the wrong direction on these 6 numbers, you got a problem. And this is how you can intervene to lower and lessen your risk by focusing on these 6 numbers. You want to try to regress them. And that's what literally I'm doing. That's literally why my YouTube channel exists, is to say, guys, I've got a problem. Here's some numbers. Doesn't look good. Here's the things that I'm doing to regress my plaque. Because a lot of cardiologists and folks say you can't do it. I'm here to say you can, but it does require pretty rigorous protocol. And again, we're going to get into that in all future videos. For now, I just need you to understand that these 6 numbers are what matter on the cardio risk scan report, not the color-coded headline on your CIMT, your intermediate thickness, your artery age. That's kind of like bragging rights. That's just an average of the thickness up and down the artery. But it is plaque lesions, these individual areas that are the places that can rupture. When a plaque ruptures, that's your heart attack and that's your stroke. An average thickness isn't a number that ruptures. A plaque lesion is what ruptures. And these 6 areas in the comments section either represent clear plaque areas, 1.3, or areas that could become plaque because the numbers are going the wrong way. This is literally how you would need to interpret these reports. It's almost like you've got to ignore the color-coded headline and go straight to the fine print with a magnifying glass and look at those 6 numbers. Ideally, you want to regress them. But if you can't regress them, one thing that can be done, hopefully, with the right protocol, is that you change the nature of the plaque. So let's say, for example, you see a plaque area that's whatever the number is, anything above 1.3, and it's got the letter S next to it, soft, that's dangerous plaque. That is dangerous, dangerous plaque. That's stuff that could kill you at any given moment or maim you for life. And even if you didn't change the number, let's suppose it was 1.5 millimeters, but next time you got the scan done, it's still 1.5 millimeters, only now it's got the letter E next to it, echogenic, calcified. You have significantly reduced your risk, significantly. If you're able to calcify soft plaque, take soft, foamy, zitty, bubbly plaque that can rupture and calcify it, make it like concrete, you have significantly dropped your risk. And we're going to get into this in future videos because I'm not pro-statin, I'm not anti-statin, I'm pro-learning things and I'm anti-stupidity. It is a fact that statins, one of their mechanism of action is to calcify soft plaque. And I'll tell you something, there's some negatives with statins. We will get into all of this. But I encourage my audience to think beyond the cheesy headlines on social media. If you've got a lesion of plaque in your neck or your heart and you know it's soft, you're not going to be thinking things like, oh, I wonder if I take a statin if I get muscle aches. Heck no. You're going to be like, I need to take action now to stabilize that plaque, or I may not be on this planet much longer. So my audience is an audience that I encourage to be informed and make intelligent decisions and know what's going on. So in closing, I hope you got value out of this. I really do encourage everybody to get these scans done. It's cardiorisk.com, no affiliation, but they have highly trained technicians. Ideally, you want to get the same technician moving forward so you get consistency of these reports, because by tracking your plaque, you can get ahead of any stroke risk or any heart attack risk, potentially even save your own life. It's so important to look at the disease, not just cholesterol numbers. So if you like my channel, please do click the subscribe button, drop a comment in the comment section, ask me any questions that you've got, and of course, share this video, it's much appreciated, and I will see you next time.